everyone. Today I'm joined by Cory Katuna. I'll just read a bit about Cory here. Cory's a teacher and a student of wisdom and spirituality, an occasional writer. She runs women's mentorships and retreats focused on emotional maturity, self-realization, authentic friendship, and practical spirituality. She's been working in this field alongside Bentinho Massaro since 2015. So yeah, Cory has her own podcast Perspective that she recently launched. She works with Bentinho and they're doing like a world tour currently, which looks amazing. And she runs her own women's retreats and all of that. So I'm pretty excited to have Cory on here today and just see where this goes. So thanks for joining, Cory.
Yeah, very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So I suppose my first question is usually what brought you into this field or this space? Yeah, how did you end up working with Bentinho? How did you end up doing your own thing? Like, yeah, where did the spiritual interest begin for you?
I like to talk about this in the framework of following clues. So I
Mhm.
think I think everybody does this. Everybody is following clues. They just don't know what. I mean, I also didn't know what clues I was following. I just knew I was following clues. It's like, what is it about this person? Even if, 20 years ago, what is it about this math teacher? What is it about this basketball coach? What is it about this book that I'm reading? Like something about this is just resonating on a deeper level than the other books or
Mm.
than the other people. So there's some little part of me that's kind of met or inspired or like sparked.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
like a
think,
little the resonance. Yeah.
right. And then I think um, some people kind of stifle that in favor of what they're
Mm.
supposed to be doing or the trajectory that they think they should be on. And then some people really do follow those clues. And I think I was lucky enough to be super encouraged to follow the clues. Plus, I think that's kind of my constitution. Very like, almost like I can't do something if it's not intrinsically motivating for me.
Right. Okay.
So early on, I guess it started with, man, it started at the beginning, I guess, like with the books that I was reading, the stuff that was standing out to me, the types of conversations my mom and I would have um, about psychology and culture and neuroscience and then that I think became this super obsession. Like even in high school, I was the editor of the newspaper in my high school, and I just wanted to bring the best out of everybody. I wanted everybody to be the best writer they could be on that newspaper staff.
Right.
And and my mom is kind of into HR, culture. So I was able to pick her brain and figure out, what kind of stuff works to actually bring the best out of people, to improve performance, to increase retention, to reduce turnover, all those business principles, but then
Right.
with the intention to like have a bunch of really happy people around you that want to be there and that deliver great work. So that was, I
Mm.
think, some of the first clues that I had. And then after, I did similar stuff all through my classes in college. And then after university, I was doing the same.
What did you study?
What did I study in university?
Yeah. Yeah.
This super obscure, like dual major, which was a mix of Spanish and business. So it was like Spanish classes taught, business classes taught in Spanish.
Right. Right.
And then my minor was in graphic design, which is the work that I did right after college.
Okay. Yeah.
So it didn't become spirituality until Um, I mean, I guess some of the workshops that I was getting into started to touch on spirituality. I was going to yoga. I lived in Boulder, Colorado, which is just a very spiritual place. And but that's kind of how the clues work. It's like
Mhm.
as you keep following clues, it's like you keep gathering data, and then at some point the whole thing makes sense. It's almost like here's a
Yeah.
piece of the puzzle, here's another piece of the puzzle, here's another piece of and then at some point you're like, whoa, 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 oh my God, I see the
Yeah.
picture. I
Yeah,
see
you can look back and see what all those
exactly.
little things were about that you didn't know what they were about at the time. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you asked about meeting Bentinho. That was about 10, 11 years ago. Just following clues. Truly, it was just following clues. I was at a point where I was seeking, I had seen so many spiritual teachers and been to so many workshops, and I was kind of like, okay, who is an example of it though? Because a lot of people are talking about it, but I want to see proof. Like I want to see somebody who I'm just like, whoa, I can't, that's, you're clearer than me. You're more awake than me. Like I was really looking for like an example, and he was. Um, and still is. That's kind of the other cool thing is like 10 years later, it's not like anything else that I started. I would get a year in and I'd be like, okay, I'm about as awake as you are. I'm gonna move on. Thank you.
Right, right.
And with Bentinho, I just haven't hit that point yet.
Okay. Did you meet him at like a workshop or something like that?
He was doing these free donation-based talks in Boulder. And somebody was randomly just like, there's a 26-year-old enlightened guy that comes here every week. You gotta, and so I was like, fine, let me check it out.
Yeah, 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 epic. Yeah, I found Vintinho stuff like a year ago, and I saw how young he started teaching and sharing, and I was like, wow, that's pretty epic. Like,
Right. Yeah. No, I
yeah,
think it's from like age 18 he started.
yeah. I tried to figure it out. I did a bit of research, and that's kind of what I came to as well. It's like, wow, that's crazy. Wow.
Just curious, did you find me through Bentinho?
I found you through Frank. You were in some of his
Hmm.
videos. When was it? Like a year or two ago?
Maybe 2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw Frank and you were like, you guys were having a conversation or whatever. And then, yeah, so I kind of knew about you through that. And then recently I found Bentinho and I just like his, both of you actually, you have that more, like you mentioned, that kind of like business, like the motivational driven kind of approach to awakening and like what you guys are doing with the world tour stuff now. Um, it's just cool to see all the different ways that this can be expressed and like kind of through different personalities and all of that. So yeah,
Absolutely.
and then I think I saw you launch your podcast and I was like, okay, cool. Let's see if you want to have a chat. So yeah.
Perfect.
So what, yeah, I mean, what interesting experiences have you had or shifts that like let's talk about what you and Bentinho and what I talk about as well, like this thing about awakening or this shift in experience of consciousness. um how did that unfold for you? So you kind of spoke about how the clues led you to certain places, and then what kind of shifts in the way that you experience the world or yourself occurred from that.
Yeah, there's probably been so many that I don't even know how to, you know how that happens? It's like you look
Yeah,
back and you're
yeah.
like, whoa, oh my God, I used to be insecure about that, or I used to be afraid of this, or so I think there's probably so many of those.
Or
But
any that stands out. Yeah.
well, there was a big breakthrough. And I've had this, especially with Bentinho as a teacher, but also we have a team of like 20 plus people. So we'll have this kind of thing with each other where we, I mean, I guess that's sort of the work that we're doing is just like getting above a paradigm, like getting above a limited perspective.
Mm,
But I have it more with Bentinho than anybody else. And I remember the first real big like breakthrough I had was a self-realization breakthrough. And it was like a 2 week retreat. So it was a long retreat. And I had no context for enlightenment. I had no context for awakening. I wasn't even interested. I didn't even know. I was like, that is weird spiritual shit. Like, just keep it real. Just keep it real.
yeah, yeah.
What can I actually use? What'll improve my life?
Right.
And I'd been with Bentinho for like a year at that time. I'd been following him. We weren't, he was living in Sedona and I was in Boulder, but um I was just following his work for probably like a year. And then I went to that retreat. And the first few days, I was just like, I don't get it. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? But and I do have this, like I have staying power. So even if something is not working for me, I'll like stick with it until it's like, okay, I got it. That took me a week to really figure out what was there for me. So
Right.
I was resilient, even though it was like, what are you talking about? And then maybe 10 days in or 7 days in, um, I just remember it was almost like that puzzle that I was just describing
Mm,
of like enough of the pieces of the puzzle were starting to be put together that I was starting to get this Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, fuck. Oh, that's what you're talking about.
Hmm.
Oh, you said awareness and frequency and consciousness and vibration and energy. You were using words like that, but you just mean this. Oh, you mean me. That's what
Yeah.
you're talking about. Just me, the real me, without all the stuff on top, without all the
Mm.
interpretations and mind and memory and stories and body and da da da. Just me. That's what you. And I asked him after, I was like, why didn't you just tell me it's me? Why did you make me think it was some like epic bright white light from the universe? Why did you make me think it's all this? Like, and he was like, I told you both. I told you all of the above. Like I was just waiting to see what would hit, like what would stick. So
That's yeah, and that's exactly what it is. It's like how do we point to this? Because the mind is always gonna like latch on to the concepts that are being used or the descriptions that are being used. And it's interesting to see like what eventually filters through for someone,
yeah,
where it's
exactly.
like once we start to let go of like, oh, it's consciousness, oh, it's awareness, oh, it's awakening. It's like I love the way that you express it because for me that's the most important to get across to people as well is the simplicity of it, right? It's not anywhere else. It's not something that you have. It's not something that I have. It's not something that Pintinho has. It's this, right?
Yeah.
It's what's hearing the words. It's what's, you know.
Yeah. No, and it's such a remembrance. Like it was like the most familiar thing. It's like, oh my God, the most obvious thing, the most familiar, the thing I know most. That. It's not out there. It's not some external characteristic or some quality or some goal. But I get why we have to make it a goal. Like now, even when I teach, it's like, yeah, enlightenment is possible for you. And I have to say things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
But I know how it lands in on people's ears. And I don't think there's a way around that. But that's the
yeah,
point, is like just let your intuition put the puzzle pieces together. It's like
yeah,
learning anything. It's like any belief system or any worldview. It's like nothing makes sense off the bat. If I took a liberal and started to give them conservative perspectives, it
mm,
would take 100 of those nodal points before finally they get the whole picture and they're like, oh,
yeah,
like so in any belief system or worldview, you need that whole puzzle to kind of come together over time.
yeah.
It's not going to just land off the bat.
And even when it's not making sense to the individual or person, it is still transmitting. Like that's the key. Like when the
Yeah,
mind is saying like
exactly.
I have no clue, like your mind was saying, and I know this is kind of for so many people in this space. It's like, what the fuck are they talking about? Right. And that is still what's being spoken of is actually being transmitted um kind of beneath the words, right? The mind's going to be listening on the um, in that space. But even still, and it's like you said, that's why that staying power for you was so powerful because
Yeah.
it's okay. I know the intellect can't grasp this, the mind can't get this, but something new that like there's still something here. There's a truth here. So I
Yeah.
suppose for anybody's minds that's saying that, it's like I always try to point to people is just drop into like we were talking earlier, that resonance of what feels. I don't quite get it, but I'm still curious. I'm still interested, even if you don't really know why. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that like willingness to follow clues is a huge ingredient for any seeker to just like permit yourself to follow clues even if you don't know why, even if it contradicts your belief system, even if the people around you are like that's not cool. But if something in you is like, but this, something about this, I want to grow in this direction, even if it's just learning something and then moving on. I wish this for more people. The
Mm.
courage to follow the clues.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the way you express that through following clues because for me, what's so important for people as well is there's no path in the sense of like that's the path to enlightenment or
Right.
that's the path to freedom. And the way you express it with clues is it makes it very personal because it's like life is showing you what your path is like moment to moment. So don't go and look for an external path. Look at what's being reflected back to you and what
Yeah.
feels, yeah, maybe like a clue or maybe like a pull or a tug in this direction. And I also like what you said where it doesn't have to make logical sense, right? Trust, kind of have that little bit of courage to um do it anyways, if you don't even know why. Yeah.
Yeah. Give me a second to get a glass of water, okay?
Yeah, no stress.
Thank you.
No worries. So the next thing I'd be curious to ask is after that kind of fundamental getting it or kind of something remembering, how did things unfold for you after that? It's because for me it's always interesting again how differently this path unfolds. Some people have a lot of um and it was the case for me, like a lot of suffering that surfaces alongside or after that, where it feels like you've lost it, or it feels like um
Um,
or you just meet a lot of kind of what was hidden. But I'm curious, how did it play out for you after that? Yeah.
It's so funny when you say that because I remember that feeling too of like, oh fuck, I lost it.
Mhm.
Just that like insecurity that accompanies awakening. And I remember Frank actually talking about the dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, that is not my memory of the whole situation, weirdly. But when you say that, I remember that. So it is part of the path for sure. Just the surfacing of the tough facets.
Mhm.
But I think for me it was so much more about just keeping following the clues, I guess. Like
Right.
and my whole framework, something that I teach and something that I want more people to get is the emotional guidance system. Have you heard this?
No, yeah, please share it with us.
So it's basically that the better you feel, the more those thoughts are consistent with the path that's meant for you,
Right.
like your true path. So when you feel amazing and
Mhm.
generous and loving and self-loving, and your inner critic is on the back burner, and you're full of joy and gratitude and generosity, you are seeing basically the thoughts that accompany that state are more useful, they're more accurate. I'm not talking about like
Mhm.
mathematically accurate necessarily, but they're more for you. So just memorize those. Those are the thoughts to follow. And then the worse you feel, when you just feel like a piece of shit and you don't remember anything good you ever did in your life, and you can't project any positive future for yourself no matter how hard you try. Those thoughts are just wrong. Like they're just not for you. Just discredit them. Just
Mhm.
no, I'm not doing this. I'm not playing this game. Um, and this, weirdly enough, applies to everyone. So I don't know anybody, no matter how spiritually advanced, no matter how sophisticated, no matter how intellectual, no matter how young, nothing. It's like everybody has this spectrum of like quality of thoughts, whether it
Mhm.
feels really good and bright and simple and open and free, or it feels like contracted and stressed and behind on things and concerned. And the emotional guidance system is basically that these thoughts that are more in alignment, that feel more true, that feel more good, that feel more clear, are more true. And you can trust those and you can act on those and you can memorize those. And the more you practice them, the more, well, you live true. The mentorships that I run with my friend Rome, the women's mentorships, we call them living true mentorships for 6 months.
Right.
And this is basically the muscle that we teach everybody is learn the emotional guidance system, but for real, like actually follow it. Stop falling for all this, like, oh my God, I think most people, 70-80% is just shitty self-talk. It's so
Mhm.
bad. It's like the inner environment most people have is so bad.
Mhm.
It's just no wonder that with all that like fear and separation and avoidance and insecurity, that people are not on their paths. People are not,
Yeah.
So anyway, I say that because whenever I do have those types of negative experiences in response to like highs, or like, holy shit, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I expect that to be met with like, you sure, bitch? Like you, this is what you really are. I'm expecting that, you know? And so now it's like, yeah, yeah, okay, I'm expecting it, I'm feeling it, this sucks, this hurts, but I don't believe it. I don't
Mm,
believe any of this. I see
mm,
it.
mm.
I know it's
Yeah,
gonna come. I know it's gonna rock me a little bit, but I'm not like hanging on. I'm just
yeah,
gonna be like, ouch, 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 got it, feeling it, okay. Okay, back into clarity, back
yeah,
into following clues.
yeah. Yeah, what I love about the way, or specifically what stood out to me there was just like negative thoughts or anything that feels um yeah, like what you were mentioning is you can just disregard it, right? I think this is the trap that many fall into as well. It's also trying, and this is kind of the space that I work with a lot with people, is it's like don't even try to fix them in the sense of you don't even need to engage with them,
Right,
or you don't even need to see them as a problem. And that's kind of what I liked, or like the part that stood out to me that came through there was that just it doesn't matter, right? If there's if there's negative thoughts, if there's when they arise, and they will, like this is also what I like to share with people. It's like this that's not you that's doing that. I think that's
right.
key as well. Is it's like you're not the one creating those thoughts, so you don't need to like get pulled into the um like
Yeah, don't
fixing
argue
them,
back.
or yeah, exactly, like getting like, oh shit, this is something I need to like kind of play a game with, or have a engagement with, where you can just see that's simply the thoughts that are rising right now, right? And maybe it triggers something that's a little bit uncomfortable, and I like what you said as well. It's like, oh, okay, that's uncomfortable, right? That doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel nice. Like this emotion, or feeling that is being triggered by the thoughts that are arising. But and I also like to like not make the thoughts into um like an enemy either, because I feel like people, get stuck in that as well. So it's just like
Right,
it's just what's arising. It's just thoughts. They don't even need to be fixed. But
right. No, and it gets cute. So this is one of the exercises that I do. Is I used to call it lower self, higher self. So from this like lower state when I'm so insecure, I would just write all the thoughts I'm having from there. And then when I'm clear and like bright and free later, I would go back. This I was doing since I was young, like 14, 15.
okay.
And I would go back and be like, no, no, what are you talking about? This is insane. You think you think you have no potential. You're 15 years old, dude. You don't even know your potential. And I would come back just from a clearer view and answer, like debunk my thoughts. And I
Mm-hmm.
recommend people do this. Like actually like see the insanity. Like see the fucking how bipolar we can be about our like in our own mind. And then because the thing is when we feel worse, because it's heavy, it feels more true. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's serious and scary, it feels more true. So it's like, oh fuck, 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 fuck. It's like gravity, like it has weight. But when we
Yeah,
feel full of joy and full of just light and generosity, we're not even thinking about whether it's true or not. We're just free.
yeah, yeah.
But when we're, under some sort of big burden, it's like, oh shit, I have to prevent this in the future. I have to deal with this. I have to prepare for this. I have to make sure this never happens again, whatever. So we take it so seriously.
Mm.
Um, Forgot where I was going with that, but
Yeah, no worries.
oh, the lower self, higher self exercise. It gets cute, is what I was saying. So
Mm.
over time, when you go back and debunk these thoughts, so at first it's super serious because it's like, oh no, fuck, I missed an opportunity. Why was I doing that? I've been such an asshole. I've been so, I'm missing my potential. And you're writing all these thoughts. Then you come back from a higher perspective. And at first it's like, no, like you take them seriously. You take those thoughts seriously because it's like, hey, no, this is what really happened. Da, 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 da. And then 20 times later, you come back to these negative thoughts and you're like, sweetheart,
Yeah,
what are
yeah, I
you
love
talking about again? You fell for it again?
it.
Come on. So, and then 100 times later, and then 1,000 times later, which has been my practice, I can do it on the spot. And this is what I do with my friends, with Rome, the woman that I co-mentor with, is we'll do this for each other. So if we're falling for something, we're texting or we're calling, and we'll just be like, dude. And we
Mm.
both know immediately that it's,
Mm.
that it's illusory.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the way you said like you can even see it as cute, because I think that's that's also very disarming, right? Is to say that like even the seriousness or the heaviness or to just see it from, like, I always like to point back to innocence as well. Like even the lowest low of the self is, you can look at it and like, hey, like it's innocent, right? Maybe when you're in it, it doesn't feel so great. It doesn't
Right.
feel so like you said, you can taste that difference between what feels natural and kind of when we're in the flow of presence, we're not even thinking about it, right? We're not even trying to manage it. We're not even trying to control. We're not even trying to change the state at all. And then you can feel the contrast of like when we're caught up in, like, I like to think of it as control as well. When we're in too much of like, I need to be controlling everything that's happening, be controlling this part of my experience, this, that, all of that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. But then also to see that kind of sometimes like we're going to just naturally go through these waves. And like for me, the peak always opens up the other side, right? So it's like we're going to have a peak, and then the other side is always going to come. But the more you, like you mentioned, you acquaint yourself with being with that experience and not making it into a problem, the more you can see like, wow, those thoughts are really just, you know, confused or innocent or
Yeah.
just really, they're like that really just disarms them as well. It's like, okay, sweet, like the mind just has no clue, and that's fine. Yeah,
Totally. I love this what you say too about just like that it's gonna come. So, and
yeah,
the more you just know the like mechanics of this, like, okay, wh when you have a peak, when you have a breakthrough, you can expect to get it tested. That's how I
yeah,
see it. It's just like, oh yeah, everything is so perfect and everything is oneness and there is no separation and there's no, and fear is a lie. You sure?
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
it is. It's just, oh yeah,
yeah.
you don't
Well,
want to,
like, yeah.
what about this?
Yeah,
And so, but just,
exactly. That the same. Sorry to interrupt, but like exactly the same thing. But just like, the way, like the teacher that was most helpful for me a long time ago, he would talk about it as well as like whenever there's a breakthrough experience, then there's now space to see all of the things that felt like they were, like you said, like, okay, oneness, unity, it's all inclusive. So it's like, so what is not being allowed, or like what is being said, like, everything is one except this. So
yeah,
then it's all gonna come in because the space has been open. That's also the way I see
nice.
it. Like, space is open. So now there's more space. Like the capacity has increased as well for what can be experienced,
Cool.
whether it's physical or thoughts as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And then also I think what to do is like when you have that clarity, at least what I do is just like plant a flag like with an anchor, with a like cement brick, like plant a flag like this is true. And I've done this for years now too, where it's like, Corey, remember this. You're gonna forget, you're gonna have a more tempting thoughts, but this is true. How you're saying now is true. And I'll like do voice notes to myself or I'll write like this is at least closer to um, an enlightened perspective than
Mm,
whatever else you were falling for before. Just remember this one. So then when these other thoughts come up, even if they're really smart, and they usually are, they'll get smarter and smarter.
mm,
So new breakthroughs will invite sort of at higher levels, a breakthrough will invite like really sophisticated um, counter perspectives,
yeah,
really sophisticated ego
yeah,
tactics,
yeah,
basically. And then just to know, like when I'm indulging that, is this commensurate with that flag that I just planted? No.
mm,
Good to know because this feels really legit. Like this feels real. I'm not suffering too much. It just seems significant, seems scary, seems a little heavy. So I'm going to discredit this. I'm going to still pay attention to it though. I'm going to learn from it a little bit. I'm going to talk to people about it. I'm going to find out what I think here, but
mm,
it's all discredited. It's not the truth that I know. It's not the
mm,
real me.
mm,
So and so this practice, I guess you can take it all the way. It's not
mm,
just a like, from depression to like happy thoughts. It's also from
yeah,
sophisticated, relatively positive thoughts to enlightenment.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I like what you said, which feels very true for me as well, is you notice subtler and subtler forms of ego, right? So we use
Totally.
slightly different language, but we're talking about the same thing. Where, yeah, for me, I also see it as resistance, right? Because for me, like the ego is resistance. Anything that's saying no, this is wrong, or this is not allowed, or this shouldn't be happening. And for me, the more this journey unfolds, it just starts to be like, so what are the sneakiest ways that resistance can creep back into experience, or that can start to kind of perpetuate suffering again through believing that there's something wrong, that there's something that I shouldn't be experiencing, or there's something that shouldn't be happening. Um, yeah, yeah, and it for me, that's part of the uh, kind of the unfolding as well, is seeing the mechanics of it as well. Like that's part of, I feel like, why it continues to kind of come back and go in experiences, because we get to see it clearer and clearer as well. It's like, oh, wow, that's how we get pulled back into it. Well, that's kind of how that hook still catches us in some
Yeah,
way.
totally. Very cool. Funny how we use different terms, but it's all the same path. It's all the same thing.
Well, that's what I love, like talking to so many different people, is just seeing how many different ways this can be expressed, and in how many different and also the different ways that it's being expressed is going to kind of make it accessible to a different group of people. But
Exactly.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
What a good, I love that. I love that that's like your premise almost with this whole podcast is like, as opposed to just here's my path, but like let me like extract the path from everybody so that even more can, I love that. Very cool.
yeah, yeah. And yours is quite unique. Like it's like very much the businessy analytical optimization side. And it, for me, what this, again, getting all the different perspectives on, shows that it's the same the way reality works, right? There's nothing that's left out, right? There's no like, awakening doesn't include like for me, I work with a lot of people with like health issues, and like the relationship between the ego and how that affects the nervous system and all of that. It encompasses that, right? It encompasses the more optimization, kind of that side of things. I mean, it comes from the spirituality, it comes from the practicalities. Like it's all inclusive entirely. Yeah.
How would you classify your spirituality? Like, what's your path or like, what's your way?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good
And you're
question.
the first one I've ever heard tell me that I have like a business approach to spirituality. So I
Oh,
didn't know.
really?
Yeah.
Well, that's just what came through, like from the beginning of the conversation, was that kind of just that more optimization.
Yeah, it resonates.
Performance is probably another word. Yeah, yeah, performance. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, for me, it came through a lot of like crisis and health issues and suffering. Really, it was like a lot of mental and physical suffering that kind of forced me, that alongside the curiosity, like an existential curiosity, I would say. So it was like,
Mhm.
I was reading like physics, philosophy. I mean, like I grew up in a religious family, so it's like, okay, religion doesn't quite make sense. So let's go to physics, let's go to this, there's something kind of not working. And at the same time, I was ill, and meditation started to um, help with all of my symptoms. And basically all of that together, it's like this immense suffering that was like, there's nothing else that matters in my life anymore except this kind of truth that people are talking about, this different perspective on the self, and but also this like massive curiosity of like, what the fuck is actually going on, like
Yeah.
like the biggest questions, like really, like how are we even here, like this whole universe thing existing as a being, like really, what is going on? And there was no, for me, there's just no conceptual answer that made any sense. I was like, um life emerging out of nothing, where did that come from, right? Where did consciousness come from? Where did this, and that pushed me down to like, okay, you have to let go of all concepts, of all like theoretical understanding, intellectualizing. So yeah, that was a bit about
Wow, that's quite a jump. That's pretty cool. Whatever that is, let's bottle that. I need that.
wait,
I
what
need
specifically? Yeah.
like to let go of conceptualization, basically. Whatever, that is quite a leap. That's one of the hardest things to get people on board with. I come from a family of like scientists and skeptics.
Mm,
Um, so that move of like, okay, well, I mean, obviously the prerequisite is curiosity and genuine
yeah.
interest. So, but if you have that genuine if interest, how do you get somebody to be like, all right, fuck it. I'm releasing
Mm,
the need for it to make sense conceptually.
mm,
Like that's a big one.
yeah. and I feel what comes to mind is like suffering in different forms is really what forces us to let go, or
Mm.
that was my experience. And I think the level of suffering will differ on the individual and kind of what their path looks like. But even if we just think about like the seeker, um the frustration of not getting it right, this kind of like how frustrating the struggle is to stay in thought, right? It's like I just can't get it, right? I just can't understand it. And then for me, I feel like that's what leads to maybe a letting go of, okay, it's just not in that realm. It's just not going to be, it's like almost like the intellect gives up at a certain point where it's just
Yeah,
like,
well, it's like you outgrew the container. It's like you
yeah,
just get
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
it's like, okay, it's not in here. It's not
yeah,
here.
yeah,
I actually
exactly.
hit something very similar by like following certain people. Like I was kind of like, okay, I need to live my life like my, the scientists in my family. Like, okay, so they like regiment this, they have their goal, they have their da da da. Let me
Mm,
like get myself on that train. And then I would start getting depressed. So it's like, okay, let me try again. Let me get their advice. Let me correct. Then I would start getting like depressed. So
mm,
it's like, okay, maybe not. Like, weirdly enough, that works for them, but maybe not. And so, and kind of that's, I think, what I was doing with following clues. It's like, let me check, like, A, do I want
mm,
to grow in that direction? Does this person have results that I like? Do they
mm,
feel amazing, regardless of what they own, what kind of reputation they have, what kind of success, da 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 da, but do they feel how I want to feel? Okay, if so, let me like learn. Let me take their advice. Let me mimic.
mm,
And I think at some point I had a similar thing where it's like, damn, none of these people, like, it's not going
mm.
to be here. It's not
Yeah,
going
yeah,
to be in the paradigm that I'm in. Like, so it's just something else. Like, I really felt like I outgrew my
yeah.
options. And then it's almost like this other thing. I had to like reach for this other, like, yeah, did you ever
Or like
see? Yeah,
it's
go.
like when you're like what I feel is so key is like actually being willing to acknowledge that, because I think that's what keeps a lot of people stuck is they're bullshitting themselves, even, where they're like, I
Yeah.
am happy with this. It's
Oh
like
my,
that is that, because for me it always comes back to sincerity and authenticity of like, okay, because this was the same that happened with me. I was like, I'm just not happy, like in the relationship I was in this, like everything. I was just like, there has to be something else. And then I feel like that hand, like you can't really find it yourself, but like through,
no.
through your honest like surrendering, it will find you. But you
Yeah.
have to kind of take that step of saying, I don't want this anymore. Or like
God, yeah,
I'm not
I
happy.
even feel it as like it's almost like you go like this, you like turn your ear into a solar panel or whatever you call it, not a solar panel, like a satellite dish. It's just like I
Nice.
don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. I'm open, I'm listening, I'm listening, and then it's almost yeah, it's the funniest thing. It's so specific though, it's real. It's like getting cornered, and there's
Mm.
just no options. There's no more options, and then you find out that there's a third dimension. It's no
Yeah.
longer. It's like whoa, whoa, whoa! I've got plenty of space actually.
Mm.
I'm huge. I thought I was small. It's the coolest. It's
Yeah,
the
and
coolest. Yeah.
it has to get uncomfortable in the
Yeah.
sense that, because that's the only way you're willing to let go of like yeah, like what you're saying, outgrow. I love that as well, because it's like, yeah, it's like this doesn't feel right. It's like something, remember, it doesn't have to be this dance as well, like this isn't it. But I also feel like when I look at it from a broader perspective, I'm like, we always choose to explore new layers of density and to see like how dense can we go, and then still remember ourselves back to
Okay.
like that with that isn't the only way that things are. And I feel like we have to be done with it, in the sense of like, okay, I explored the density, right? I kind of I forgot myself. I played the game of separation. And I think some people are still like, okay, no, maybe there's still something in separation for me. Like maybe there's still something that interests me, but that like, okay, their willingness to just keep letting go. Like, no, it's just not there. It's not in any of that. Yeah.
Okay, I love what you just said, and I'm not sure I understood you correctly, this one little piece, but okay, so because this is so true, and I still see this with people who have been like deep into Bentinho's work or in my work, whatever, like this is still such an insidious little like belief that
Mm,
we have to keep going into hard things or going into separation or going into the world so that we can, or like repeating patterns so that we can learn and like extract the benefit. One thing I would just love more people to like gift themselves is like, but you don't. At
Yeah.
some point you don't. At
Mm,
some point you can just go forward. Like
mm,
at some point you've healed and there's just a little bit left or like little tweaks. Sometimes at
mm,
some
mm.
point you don't need to go keep doing that. That's
Yeah.
just a belief. That's just an attachment. It's just from other people talking about trauma nonstop that you feel like you got
Mm,
to go do trauma work and shadow
yeah.
work. At
Hmm.
some point, like
Hmm.
what's the point of doing trauma work if you don't heal? If it's not, what's the point if you
Yeah.
It's
And
the
that's,
same.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, go.
But like I come to this, like this is kind of where I speak to a lot of people from nowadays, is that exact perspective. Because for me, the word healing becomes its own trap, because
Yes.
it's the
Yes.
new carrot on a stick, or even like nervous system regulation, or all these kind of
Yes.
things. Like I feel like that's the modern version of spiritual seeking. It's like, no, and like again, it has its place, but I'm speaking to exactly the point that you're speaking of, is like at some point you just have to let go, or you will when you're ready to. Like again, it's that kind of like something realizes like I don't want to play that game anymore, right? Like this kind of
Yeah.
like endless
But it
endless
takes courage. I think for
yeah,
people to know, like at some point,
yeah,
you could always keep processing. At some point, you could always justify that. People will always support you to process again, to go
yeah.
through it again, to learn it again, to like there's such a comfort zone in that. And at some point, it's a decision to be like, okay, shit, I have enough. Like it's the same I feel with this whole like victim consciousness and like if you have privilege, you need to check your privilege. No, no,
Oh
no.
yeah,
If you have privilege, you need to fucking lead the charge. If
yeah,
you have
yeah,
privilege, you need to like go fast and support people
yeah.
and bring people with you. You don't need to check your privilege and put yourself down into victim consciousness again.
Yeah. It's a fear of taking up your space, or
Yeah.
like really like, okay, you
Yeah.
chose the space essentially as consciousness to be this individual. You gave yourself these tools, this voice, whatever lined up, and now if you
Yes.
like dumb yourself down and be like, no, I have to suffer, I have to stay
Yeah.
small. It's
How fucking convenient. The devil loves
one more thing I wanted to say on that point is yeah, it's just another form of identity. The way that I see it is like this whole process for me is like letting go of, because that's what actually came through when you were talking about your story, which I think is such a, this is what gets people going along the path, is that willingness to use something and then toss it aside when it served its purpose. Like that's what I
exactly.
felt coming through when you were saying like, I would go to this group and then I was like, okay, you're done. Like I go to this teacher and then, okay, you're done.
Yeah.
And it's like that willingness to let go of the tools, no matter how much it has served you. This is what I find people get stuck in the trauma work or the all of that, is because it benefited them so much. It was like there was this time when I had all these shadow parts of myself that wanted love and compassion, and I learned how to give it to myself. So now I don't want to let go of that. It's like that identity
I
is
got
so,
goosebumps. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And this is the perspective that I wanted to talk about it from as well, is for me, like the easiest way to let go of something is to understand why you want to hold on to it. It's like, okay, like even the one that wants to keep on doing the shadow work, it it also doesn't want to leave anything behind. It's like, I don't want to leave any part of myself behind. I feel like when we acknowledge that, then it's actually easier to let go of it, to be like, okay, I can still have joy and I can still kind of go forward on the path. And if something comes up to meet me in along the way, then I can meet it with an open heart and open arms. But I don't have to stay like away from the light to meet the darkness in a sense. Yeah.
Oh, it's just classic fear. It's just fear dressed up as spirituality. It's just
Yeah,
fear.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Here,
Exactly.
like kids, it's like a kid being like, "No, mom, I don't want to. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go on the playground. Please come with me. Please, no, I don't make me. Don't make me." And the mom being like, "Okay, come on. We don't have to do that. We don't have to go to school. We don't have to." And then the next time you're about to go to the thing, you can throw a bigger fit, and then you'll
Yeah.
get that same coddled treatment. Or, and I'm not talking. I have no opinion about parenting. I'm not a parent, but like, or the kid is just like, "I'm scared." Okay.
Mm,
Fuck. Okay. And I want to make excuses, but I'm just scared.
mm,
Let me
mm.
just go and
Yeah.
find out and cross every single bridge when I get there and then develop courage and develop a positive relationship, positive circuitry with my guidance so that when something inspires me, I notice what fear feels like and I can be like, cool, fear, I'm gonna keep going
Mm,
versus actual injury. and I actually need a break. But if you
Mhm.
go toward the things that you are guided to go toward, and then you feel fear, and then you know what fear feels like, and you know the response to fear is to keep going,
Yeah,
and you know
yeah,
the response to injury or actual trauma or, actual whatever is to like pause and get help. And those two things are different. I mean, that's like an education nobody can superimpose on you. You have to learn that by having courage and trying.
yeah, yeah, and it has to come through. I feel like what yeah, there's so many things that I love there, but that fear becomes like if you keep on responding to it in the same way, it becomes so addictive as well. Like you said, the child that's just like, I'm going to throw a bigger trauma, I'm going to throw a bigger trauma. Um, and yeah, to be just to be totally honest, right? To because that's also I feel like what keeps things hidden or like what
Yeah.
makes us believe the stories of the ego, right? Because again, it's just kind of this whatever, right? This inauthentic or this kind of whatever ego that is now using exactly what works. So it's like,
Right.
okay, every time we throw fear on the path, it actually it pulls us back, it pulls us back. So it just gets easier to go there. But what I love what you said is like it's still going to be there, right? Like if you just kind of keep going forward in life or on your path, the fear is still going to come. But you just every time you say like, okay, it doesn't matter, it actually gets easier to do that as well.
Yeah.
It might increase in intensity sometimes. It's like okay, can you work with this level of fear?
But you have a positive relationship with it. So you just
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
like, I'm excited to get over that one because how good it feels to get over it.
yeah,
I like this thing. I know what it's like. Okay, fuck, 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 scary, scary, scary. I'm terrified. But at least I know, I know where to like, where my reserve of confidence can come from. It doesn't, it comes from like the other side of it. And it comes from within. Like, I know what courage feels like. I know what opting for something despite not wanting to or being afraid to do it, despite what that comes from. I know that feeling. That training, you have to do that. You can only build that training. And fear is like an inflatable thing. So the more you respect fear by being like, oh, okay, I won't, it just fills and like it approaches you more. Like it encroaches on your space. And so now
yeah,
the line has moved back toward you. So you're more afraid of things that before you weren't afraid of. And
yeah,
if
yeah,
so then you get scared again and then you're like, "Oh, okay." And then fear encroaches again. So
yeah,
it's like no joke. You actually have to do this or else you're going to be a couch potato and a
yeah,
chronic comfort zone and you're going to be depressed.
yeah. And what came to mind is another way, and I share this with people quite often to talk about this because what again the way our minds work is it can make now fear into the new enemy. So like here's us talking about fear in this way. It's like okay, then we just start to fear. But what like I like to share with people is like it's just it's just another aspect of experience, right? Kind of fear, has its own inherent like to go back to what I was saying earlier, is this kind of understanding. It's like and I like to look at this with everything, like whether it's self-doubt or kind of confusion or whatever. It's like that is truly unconditional love or this kind of totality of consciousness just in a sort of distorted form or something that doesn't quite understand. So it's not even something that's trying to hold you back. It's not even something that's trying to mess you up. It just doesn't quite get it, right? So it's like to not make fear into something because then it can kind of we still get pulled into it where it's just like even fear is just it's just a little something that doesn't understand, but it's like that balance of like seeing fear and it's fine, and because it's fine I don't need to believe its voice, like its voice is not it's not bad, but it's just
Yeah.
it's not like a good friend that I should be taking life advice from. I can just see it as like a lost friend and I can have compassion for that friend.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think there's like different levels. So I've seen different perspectives on fear work for different um, demographics. Like I've heard Joe Rogan be like, you got to defeat that inner bitch.
Yeah.
And I like this, it's like,
Right.
I like that. And I think it works for people where they're at. So if people are
Mhm.
like, okay, this is just my inner bitch, I just have to like, just push through it and
Yeah.
and fight despite the fear. I think that like depending on where people are at, that can be exactly the message they need. And then even from like a higher perspective, fear can show you like how I relate to fear sometimes now is like it shows me where I'm where I believe I'm weak. So it
Mhm.
gives me a clue. Like that's a really subtle clue. It's like, oh, I can still be afraid here
Mhm.
because I still believe my body is me.
Mhm.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Like, thank you, like teacher. But
Mm,
then, so I think there's many ways to relate to fear,
yeah.
depending on, and you just have like another one is just reframing it. Like physiologically, fear is just excitement. It's the same,
Yeah, well, I love that one as well. Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, you just are
But
excited to get out there. You can't wait. Your body
yeah,
doesn't have too much energy.
it's really how you label it, right? Like this
Yeah,
came up with someone the other day where I was like, they were like, I get this feeling, and I was like, just feel into like excitement and feel into fear, and it's like, can you actually just change the name? It's like, yeah, it's the same
yeah,
thing. But what I also love what you said was about the identification with the body, because that was something that came through very clearly for me a while ago, where it was like, yeah, fear is also just pointing to where there's still a holding on to an identity of some sort, right? Of
yeah,
like, even if it's safety or security, but that still comes back to body identification, because it's like, why do I need safety? Why do I need security? Because I need to look after this individual, right? It's in my domain, it's in my control, which is fine, right? That's kind of all conditioning that is useful for the human being. But it's like, if so, I suppose we're talking about the highest perspective on fear now, is that like, that's just pointing to where there's still identification
right,
with anything at all, right? It's like that
right.
I
I
am
like that.
this small individual that needs to take care of myself. And for me, like, I went through this like massive like fear of death experience, and the other side, it was like, oh fuck, I'm like completely held, like.
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So cool. I also had a whole process around the fear of death and being the body. And then the like pinnacle of it was I had this partially lucid dream on an airplane where the airplane was crashing and I felt it right there. That was my choice. Like that was my choice point right there. Either be identified with the body or be identified with myself. And then
Mm.
in the dream, I like put my hands up like a roller coaster and just like rode it down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Let
just
go.
woke up in bliss. Just woke up in bliss. That lasted for like an hour. So
Yeah,
it was like a trophy, you know. It was like, oh, recognition. Like I could actually die. I could actually die happy. It's amazing to feel that as a 33-year-old.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that, because it's like when you pass through that door of like, and I love how it will come to us in whatever form it comes to. Like for you, it sounds like it came in a dream, but it's like when that, um, yeah, that letting go of like, and I think to put it in like a very extreme perspective, like I think back to Jesus on the cross, of that like complete willingness to be crucified by life, and then the resurrection afterwards, and I
Fuck
feel like
yeah.
it's,
Once again.
it's yeah, and that was kind of my motivation when like life was just thrown in this intense fear around like physical safety, like health, and all of these things, and I was just like, fuck it, like, I give up everything. Like I give up the nervous system, I give up the body, like give it all to life. And then it was the same thing on the other side. There was like the whole body shook, and there was just like this like real intensity of something passing through. And then there was just like this. It was just, for me, it just came out as laughter, right? It's just like, oh wow, like that was complicating everything as well. Like
Exactly.
everything was so important because I was avoiding that feeling, but it was like
Wow.
it's so simple on the other side. Yeah,
So good. I love
yeah.
that.
Yeah, beautiful. Mm. Yeah, so do you have anything else you want to touch on?
I just have loved this conversation.
Mm, mm.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I love how for me these conversations always take on a life of their own, where it's like what comes through me bounces off what comes through you, and it
Yeah.
kind of like creates its own energy form.
Little ding 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 ding.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, if people want to work with you or get in contact with you, or what do you offer in terms of teaching and mentorship, and what would you recommend to people? Yeah.
If you're a woman and you want to be part of a mentorship, go to thelighttouch.us. And this is where my co-founder and I run women's mentorships online with unlimited coaching with us for 6 months at a time with up to 30 women. So we have one starting in November. We also have a retreat, women's retreat in August, for 30 women, a few spots left. But also, I'm a facilitator in Massaro University, which is Bentinho's app, Bentinho's online school. And there you can do one-on-one coaching with me and other facilitators. You can attend our workshops or come to the God Tour. You can
Awesome. What?
also, my podcast, I have a podcast called
Yeah. Your new
For
perspective
God.
podcast. Yeah. How's that going? Last question. How are you enjoying the podcast?
It's very good. It's a little tricky now being on the road, but more
Yeah.
just bopping around from Airbnb to Airbnb. So I don't quite have my flow yet, but I love it. I have to say, I love it. Like I can't get enough. I would like to have a little setup where I'm just doing it every single day, like Candace Owens style, or just
Mm,
having a daily show, commenting on
yeah.
things. I love it.
It's fun just having that outlet, right? To
Yeah,
just yeah
yeah,
express, and then it kind of for me is like it's similar. It's not too formal, but it's just like if an idea pops up, I record it and share it on YouTube, and it's just the insights unpack themselves like kind of through that space as well. Yeah.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
there's something super special about sharing. Like when you share, it's like a faucet. So
Yeah.
when you start sharing, the water can come through,
Yes. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you get kind of cleaned out, and you get way more information and way more growth and way more gifts because
Mhm.
you're giving them.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just hoarding and you're just accumulating and it's like you reach capacity at some point. So you gotta share, you gotta give.
Yeah. That's like you mentioned those goosebumps moments, like that's a fundamental truth. Like I can
Yeah.
feel it. I'm saying it's exactly that analogy or that like imagery of it, where it's like open up and more will flow through. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
fun. Love that. All righty. Well, thank you so much, Cory. This has been a lot of fun, and I'm sure all the viewers will get a lot out of it. And I'll put the links to all your stuff on there. Yeah.